write because I have to. I've been writing since a child. I grew up in an era where children were to be seen and not heard. So I started writing probably in the 7th grade when I was given a little diary with a lock and key on it, and I could put all my secrets and all my concerns in that little diary. Published as a result of a conversation I had with a friend of mine. I still consider her a friend even though we haven't had contact for years, Nikki Finney, and she's a poet, beautiful poet. And she saw some of my work that I had written in my spiral bound notebook, and she encouraged me to publish a chapbook. And that was in Moorhead, Kentucky, where I was attending graduate school. And upon returning to Michigan, I joined the Black Writers Guild, and from there I gained the confidence to continue writing and to actually publish. Even though I had did academic publishing, I had never published my personal creative works before. I write because it's a catharsis for me. A lot of times things that I feel, and I feel intensely, I have to document. I love to tell stories, the old tradition, in which I say I gathered from being a child and listening to the stories of the elders as I sat on the front porch on the east side of Detroit or around the kitchen table with my foster mother's friends. And so I develop characters, and I tell stories, and I try to tell stories, what I call stories from the earth. I like to write about those people that society wants to deem invisible. And so that's why I write, and that's how I write. I think the lesson of forgiveness has been the most challenging. I still have trouble with it. I had a very horrendous childhood growing up in the foster care system. And before that, as a young child, having a mother with mental illness. And I had a lot of anger inside me in terms of a feeling that I had been done wrong or hadn't been given a fair opportunity or a fair chance at life. And it was a lesson I had to learn to get rid of that guilt and fear, the guilt and fear and shame of being molested as a child. I had to talk about it. I had to write about it. And in doing so, I found out that others had a similar or the same story, and I was able to heal and hopefully able to help someone else heal. Well, I'm going to speak in the past. So one of the hardest things for me to have done was to retire. And I know I needed to. My physicians had told me to. I worked a highly stressful job. I was dealing with a laundry list of health problems and was told to retire 2 years before I actually retired. I'm a type A personality. I'm always working. Again, fear crept in. I had fear of if I was going to have enough money or if I was going to have to be sharing my dog food bowl with my Bichon poo. And even though my partner told me it would be all right, I'm not the type of person that really can depend on others. And so I've always been in control, so to speak. And so it was hard making that decision to leave a full-time job and knowing that I was going to be okay. The other challenge I had was managing health and going into those winter years of life and all that comes with it. And like most women, I've always put others before me and not have taken care of myself. And so now the focus is on me. I tell the kids the first 50 was yours, the next 50 is mine. my favorite character was Maddie. She's in my book, Dancing Under the Same Moon, which really didn't start out to be a book. It was a series of short stories. It actually started with one short story of a character, Twilight. And Twilight is loosely based on the legend, and I'll say legend, of my mother growing up in a tiny town, coal mining town of Cinderella, West Virginia. And when I was seeking my roots and trying to find out more about her, because she died when I was 7, I went seeking Cinderella, West Virginia, which is no longer there. It was a coal camp. But I went to Williamson, West Virginia, where she was raised, and I interviewed some of her teachers and the people that knew her. And Twilight. So I wrote the story of Twilight as a short story, and as I acted out her story whenever I told her story. And so people started asking me, well, if you read the book, you'll find out that Twilight had a baby. So they would ask me, what happened to her baby? Because in my oral story, I never said. And so I wrote the story of Legacy, which was Twilight's baby. And I wrote it and then lost the story. And I didn't think about it. It was years later, and people kept bugging me about it. So I tried to reconstruct it, and it just didn't feel right. And so early one morning, she came to me, her character came to me, and she told me who she was, and I wrote what she said. And then she started introducing other characters. But there was another character that was in my field of vision, but she hadn't come forward yet. And I knew that she would narrate the entire book, but it took about 3 months. And I was setting up in a movie, and I heard the voice say that she saw her mother hanging from the rafters, and I wrote it on my popcorn napkin. I wrote that line on my popcorn napkin. And I couldn't wait for the movie to end. To be exact, I wanted to leave, and my friend didn't want to leave, so I had to sit through the movie. And I started writing her story in the car. So Maddie is my favorite character because it took her so long to come forward, but she's a beautiful person. And it's almost like I can touch and feel her. And I don't think her story is finished because you know, sometimes I dream of that particular character, so I think that she still has other things to say. I see, I love James Baldwin, Alice Walker, the classics. I love, I said Alice Walker, Toni Morrison. My name is Dr. Debraha Watson. I am a retired community college educator, a mother of 2 adult children, ages 31 and 41. I retired in January of 2014. And I should say I'm semi-retired because I still teach part-time. I work as a consultant for the state.